Hey guys, I'm MG, and today I'll be looking at the Pink Panther, which is a 1963 American comedy film that stars Peter Sellers as the main character, Inspector Clouseau. That is about the inspector trying to catch the Phantom, who plans on stealing a valuable diamond. And it was directed by Blake Edwards, who wrote the script alongside Maurice Richland. However, why don't we stop riding down snowy hills and start reviewing right now? This is another one of those films that is good, but not much about it was stellar. Like, I was engaged to the plot for the whole runtime, and I enjoyed it for what it was, but there's not much about it that particularly stood out, except for the music and the brief animation. The music by Henry Mancini is very fun, and just delivers an ooze of charm that was really satisfying. And it's one thing to have very well aged animation from 1963 played in the opening credits, but when you mix it with live action at the end, that's insanely impressive. I know it's only for a couple of shots, but still, it's really shocking how well everything is aged. And the segments are really funny, so fluent and organic, and it brings a lot of joy to me that are definitely my favorite parts, and are one of the very few things that I would call excellent. Everything else in the movie was fun enough. I liked pretty much all of the slapstick scenes. The climax was very kinetic, and I really enjoyed the scene where the Lighton family was trying to avoid Clouseau. But the scenes themselves weren't all that funny. And so is the movie, to be honest. It has a few delightful bits, like where Clouseau fumbles in the court, or the scene with the two gorillas. But the humor wasn't anything all that eccentric, and it felt too random at times, in a way that didn't work very well. The characters are also fine enough, with very good performances, especially Peter Sellers, who greatly embodied his character, and all of the other actors were solid as well, but I don't particularly care about the characters, and they don't leave that much of an impression on me, even though they do have some nice moments. The scenes with Charles and the princess were pretty interesting, because they contain a bit of subtlety with their chemistry that was in general investing enough, even though both of them aren't that good. For my larger issues, the pacing felt a bit off, with some scenes feeling crammed in some portions of the movie, while others felt a little drawn out. That stuck out to me at first, but it sort of gets resolved later on, so it's not a prominent issue. The audio was a little inconsistent in some scenes, like between the wide and the close-up shots. The audio doesn't sound the same, which was a tad unprofessional, but the audio was mostly well done. The musical number in the middle didn't have much plot relevance, but it was a nice slice of life scene, and in general, I like how the movie is just slice of life. The detective story is pretty enticing, with some solid firework effects, but the parts where it's just the characters talking, I don't know, it wasn't that endearing, but still felt natural, and I'm glad we spent a decent amount of time before the case gets started. And it's really funny how Clouseau doesn't matter in the first half, but it's not really about him, so I can deal with his minimal role early on. The production design is magnificent, all of the sets are constructed with exquisite detail, and was also quite impressive with how much they could accomplish into making the locations all feel very distinct from each other, so that's neat. The film also features a presentation of different kinds of women, with them either being shown as strong and resistant, or downright manipulative. It doesn't do much for the story, but I still like it, and doesn't feel like an insult to anyone, so it's a perfectly fine thing to have in a movie like this. And overall, I had a good time with the movie, and it does leave me excited into watching the rest of this large franchise. But it's not anything spectacular, and maybe if a comedy was more funny, then it probably would be excellent. But as is, it's a perfectly good film that I would recommend to watch for everyone. 7.7 out of 10. Goodbye everyone, and thank you for watching. Bye!